Tottenham TV here. Spurs dumped out of the FA Cup against Aston Villa 2-1 in another horrendous defeat, but really poor display, lacklustre again from Tottenham Hotspur. Aston Villa, took the piss for a lot of that game, in all honesty, especially in the first half, running rings around Tottenham. We just had absolutely no answer to what Aston Villa threw us. We obviously had a couple of spells in the second half where we looked like we could get back into the game. We got a goal in stoppage time, but it was obviously too little, too late. I'm here with Sai to dissect what was a horrendous display yet again from Tottenham. And Tottenham have exited two domestic cups in the last 4 days. Ange Postecoglou's going to come under increasing pressure. There was even some reports suggesting before this game that if he went out today, he would be out of a job. The performance just, obviously he's playing a good Villa team, but the performance obviously left a lot to be desired. We were from the first minute, obviously Kinski with an absolute howler, conceded within a minute from Jacob Ramsey. Didn't get much better later on, or it could have been 3 or 4 down in that first half with the chances Villa created. Second half, it looked like we were getting back in the game and we created some openings, but again, left the back door open. Morgan Rogers taking advantage of what was a really poor defensive mishap yet again from Tottenham. And, after the substitutions from Aston Villa, Rashford comes on, Asensio comes on. It looked like the Villa were going to take the game away from us 3-4-0 at that point. They again missed some quality opportunities. Tell gets a goal in stoppage time. You're thinking, is there a miracle? But it was too little, too late at that point. Sai, what are your immediate feelings after crashing out 2 cups in 4 days? Hard to put it into words.
Well, no, I know the words, just can't say them on here. The manner at which we've gone out on both of these is kind of unacceptable. This injury conversation is repetitive and boring. Yes, we have to acknowledge it, of course, because it is a massive issue in the club at the moment. But saying that, this is where you should be adaptable, maybe is a good word, in terms of setup, in terms of positional play. The kind of topic that we've had before this game was that we looked at the bench and we were kind of like, well, we haven't really got any answers to anything if something needed changing anyway. So we're in this position. We know who's at fault at the top. We know there's problems with the quality of players. We know there's massive issues with the injuries. There's a massive issue potentially, arguably more so than ever before, is the tactical aspect of it. It's all coming into alignment where there's just nowhere to hide anymore. There is no excuse for any of this at all. Like, today was unacceptable. The Liverpool game was unacceptable in the sense that we didn't even turn up to do anything whatsoever. Liverpool didn't get out of first gear. We didn't even turn the ignition on if we were a car. Today, it was a similar principle. And it's exactly what I said earlier in this game. We've gone from this defeat of Liverpool a couple of days ago. You think there would be a rally of the troops, something different, something changing, and then we go and do all these mistakes in the first minute of this game straight away. It's unbelievable. You could literally write the script almost with Tottenham, to be honest. I have zero expectation in any game anymore. I used to be really positive. I am as a person when it comes to Tottenham. I'm now just realistic in my mind and logical in the sense that if you don't expect anything, anticipate anything in that sense of positivity, then you won't be disappointed. But that means still that I get massively frustrated, and those that know me and those that have seen me on the channel many times before will know that I have certain principles, a certain level of standard, and that includes from a professional perspective in life, but especially when you're talking about a team or a football club that means so much to so many people. Whether you're watching at home, whether you've travelled once again, a long distance to go and watch them away from home or wherever you are in the country, around the world, really, if you're dedicating your energy and time, you'd at least expect a minimal effort in return. And I think the last 2 games have been absolutely disgusting in regards to that aspect of their game. Now, you could argue today there was some stints of change. I think the second half we came out progressively well, but then it just completely spinned on its head when we didn't take advantage of any of the situations that occurred in that second half. Yeah, okay, we can talk about the Son instance in the first half or whatever, but there was not enough there. There was not enough there at all. And also, from your perspective, you can only just sit there and watch it happen, let it happen, because you know full well that nothing on the bench will change anything. You know, you could argue that, I've said this many times, I've said it in previous games, just play some of the academy players. It would be 100 times better and more enjoyable to watch, trust me. So go and do that as a difference. But instead we put the same players on, or the ones that are available are the same ones that come on, and you're expecting something different. It's not going to change. There's no change in the shape of the team. There's no change in the philosophy, the tactics. There is nothing. You know, this Ange thing, this myth, which happened a few times last season. It's happened a couple of times this season. And yes, we've had injuries, but you have to have a plan B, a plan C, something different. Because all that's going to happen is, even the fans that try and back you, I backed Ange all the way through, but certainly in the last month or so, I've seen that light, as it were, from people's conversations, people's comments about his tactics or lack of them, the lack of the plan B, the plan C, because it's times like this and times when you're in a difficult situation, you have to change something. You have to do something different. And yes, of course, we can't put massively different players on there, but you can at least try something different, because then people maybe at least acknowledge and have the understanding that, well, at least he's trying. We're in this difficult situation, but you've got this stubbornness of doing the same thing over and over again. There's all those definitions of insanity. We're doing it every single week. And Sim, we're all having the same conversations every week. It's boring. It's repetitive. It's all about injuries. It's all about the manager. It's all about this. It's all about that, about Tottenham. There's nothing positive left in this club. The soul is gone. It is completely destroyed, in my opinion, years ago when the stadium was built. But that has progressed now to the point where it's almost like there's a lack of anything anymore. Our best players are long gone. Some of the players that are still there, we're clinging on to the nostalgia. They're not good enough anymore. And that's no disrespect to them, but that's just what happens in life. It's what happens in football. They're being used commercially, some of them. It's unacceptable the way that this club is being treated and the way that we've gone down this route. We're now sat here a week earlier, we were sitting there saying there's the promise where the Ange wins things in the second season. We're still in all the competitions. Fast forward a week, guys, we're out of 2 of them. We've only got 1 left. I can't honestly see us doing anything in that. They're saying we're favourites. I don't know how they came to that conclusion. If you want to go waste your money, go ahead. But I think that's long gone. My thoughts and opinions and the energy that I had towards that is long gone, especially after this week. You dissecting this game is kind of pointless because, you know, there's nothing to dissect other than the fact that they're not good enough. They're tired. They are so lethargic. There is no energy. You can't even talk about the high press being the energy factor anymore because they're not even doing that. They're just tired from playing 2 or 3 games, you know, each week. It's not possible as a human to do that. So there's a concoction of all these things going on in the club. Everyone's annoyed. Everyone's frustrated. There's no excuses anymore. Like, something has to change, and we can all point fingers. The players aren't going to get sacked. The chairman's not going anywhere. The only solution, the only option we got left is the manager. I personally believe we get another manager in, we might see something different at least. I don't think it's going to change anything, the hierarchy or anything around the middle. That will never change. They make too much money. Get out of your heads. But, like, something has to be different now. All the players come out every week. Oh, we're going to change the philosophy. We're trying for the team. We believe in the philosophy. This, that. What philosophy? What football? There's nothing to watch anymore. It's gone. There is nothing positive left at all in this team right now. It's not going to change until the summer comes. Some of the players come back. Maybe new players come in. Some of the other players go. I'm done, Sim. Like, I've never been this dead about Tottenham in my life. I've always been strong and positive, but you have to. Everyone has a limit. Everyone has a line. Tottenham have drawn the line with me a few weeks back. I'd have to say. Some may say, "Why on earth did it take you this long?" I always believe. I always have hope. And this diminishing factor of Tottenham Hotspur as a football club or a business, whatever you want to call it these days, is just utterly diminishing in the heart. It's diminishing in the head, the soul, everything. So I'm just left here with a piece of paper with no notes on it because I can't be bothered. The team can't be bothered. So why should I bother writing shit on my paper? I've had enough of it.
Yeah, I think I can understand everyone's gutted after going out of another cup, and especially how easily I think we were beaten by Aston Villa. I think throughout the game again. I think again a lot of it. I mean, I'll repeat myself. I think it gets boring, but I still think it's the same situation. They're physically in a better situation than we are.
It is.
They able to overpower us. We weren't really able to change it. You saw what a difference subs came on for them. What a difference it made. And for us, we just don't have that luxury of making those subs. I think. The players at the moment are really lacking in confidence. We're losing lots of important games and lots of games week in, week out. But Ange also has to take responsibility for some of the tactical setups. Like, for example, where was our midfield for a lot of that game? I think Ange has to be responsible for why that was apparent, where Porro being out of position. But things that Ange can do very little about. Kinski's absolute howler today. What can Ange do about that? Absolute howler from him for that first goal. If he keeps that out, we don't go 1-0 down early. Maybe there's a different feel to the game. Son missing an absolute sitter at 1-0 in the first half. He has to put that away. Not sure what Ange can really do about that. Danso missed an absolute sitter during the game. That was at 2-0. Maybe if we got one back at that point, I think it was 20 minutes to go. Maybe we had more time to would have had more time to get back in the game. Not much you can do about that. I think there are some things that I feel for Ange, and some things I think Ange has to be responsible for. The reality is we've been dumped out of 2 cups in the last 4 days. That's what he was really hanging his hat on, if we're all being honest, this season. When it comes to having any sort of success this season and getting anything from it, we're now out of both those cups, both domestic cups, and then we don't have any possibility of winning them. So it's we now have all eggs really in that Europa League basket, seeing as the league campaign has gone to absolute shit and we're in the bottom half, and I think we're 15 or something points away from the European places in the league at the current point in standing. Again, I do believe there are circumstances surrounding that, and I've been very consistent about the issues we've been having. And you look at the bench today, you look at the squad today, it's the same scenario. We had a lot of the same players that we played against Liverpool. We didn't really have the ability to change it much. We changed it as much as we could. And, people were criticising Ange at half-time for taking off more and being on Basuma. I actually thought we improved when we did do that. And I thought actually the change helped us. But unfortunately, again, like it's happened in so many times this season, in our best moment in the game, we conceded a goal. Just as when we were looking like we were getting on top of them, bam, it's 2-0. And then as soon as it goes 2-0, they then make those subs in Rashford and Asensio, and all of a sudden they took the game away from us at that point in the game. So again, there's the situation in that game got away from us, but I don't think the tactical element of Ange changing things hampered us in that second half. I thought it actually improved us, but it wasn't enough to take the game against a good Villa side. And I think you can just see it physically. These players just can't do what is required at the moment. There are balls being played into feet, and then all of a sudden you get these aggressive Villa players just out muscling them and getting the better of them. And I do think these players are trying. When I'm looking at these players, they're running, they're trying their best, but there's only so much they can do at the moment. I really believe that. And I think Villa obviously had their full week rest. I know they had injuries as well, and they obviously lost a centre back during the game, but they haven't had to deal with the same amount of injuries for the same amount of time, and it's been a compounding effect on our squad, and the players are out there, and that's what's leading to these performances. Now, the reality is, regardless of the injury situation, Ange is the manager of the football club, and he's tasked with solving these problems, and he's tasked with being able to overcome these difficulties that that have become upon. Whether you believe these difficulties are his fault or not, I don't think all of them are down to him, but maybe you could say portion of the injuries, you can say he has a part to play potentially. I'm not convinced by it, but maybe you could argue that. He's asked to solve these problems, and the reality is he just failed miserably at doing so. He hasn't been able to come up with any solutions as to how we can overcome these issues, and we've been dropping like a rock for the past 2 months. And then the only thing he was really hanging on to is the fact that we were 1-0 up in that cup semi-final, and we were still in the FA Cup, and obviously we're still in the Europa League as well, which obviously that only comes around in March. And he's failed absolutely miserably at solving any of these solutions to these problems. So if they want to sack Ange off the basis of that, I don't think he can complain, to be honest. And I don't think, I don't think you can say it's the wrong decision, because managers are paid to solve problems, and he can't solve these problems that we're in. Now, there's another argument to say who would be able to solve this kind of problem. That's also another. That's a fair argument as well.
It is a massive
I think,
argument.
because who could lose for the amount of time we have their first choice centre backs, their goalkeeper, their first choice striker, all their depth in the attack as well. Who could lose all of that for 3 months and still be getting consistent results and still be fighting for what they want to achieve? I think that's also a fair argument. And whatever way you land on that, I don't blame you for thinking either way, to be honest, because I think both are valid kind of ways of thinking. For me, where I sit on it after today's defeat, the conversation will ramp up again about Ange.
Of course.
Is he on his last legs? Is this the straw that broke the camel's back? Is it time for him to go? For me, I don't see the point in sacking him again. Again, we're on the cusp of getting all these players back, and I think it's only fair that we've been giving him all these hard times with all these players out. Once the players come back, he should be the one to try and reap the benefit of having them back and try and getting the results. And we still have the Europa League campaign. I don't think we're getting any manager that anyone's going to be happy with from now to the end of the season. We're not going to get Irola. We're not going to get all these managers that people want, if all honesty. And if come the end of the season, we make that decision that Ange is not the right guy, we want to go in a separate direction, then we make that decision at the end of the season. But I still think we give him that Europa League campaign, and we just give him till the end of the season to make that judgment. Now, if we were to go out of Europe early, right, which is very possible right now, given the situation, I don't know what kind of condition these players are going to come from injury from, all these different things. If we go out of Europe early, then I think there's a serious conversation to getting him out early, because is it just hurting us more, him being here, in terms of, the situation around the club, the toxicity, all this kind of stuff. And, maybe at that point you just get Mason into the end of the season. But until that point, I'm willing to see out. And I think, again, and I really do believe that once we get those players back from injury, we will be a much better side for it. And I think we won't be as bad as what we're seeing right now. Just for the pure fact is I think we'll have more energy in the team, which we clearly lack in. And I've been consistent from that point ever since the injury crisis started. And the reality is the injury crisis has only gotten worse since that point. So I don't see how I can just automatically think we're going to start getting results when the injury crisis is only getting worse, if I'm blaming the injury crisis for those results. So I'm going to be consistent in that. I think we might as well give him to the end of the season. I still believe that. There's a very serious possibility. There's a very serious possibility we could wake up tomorrow morning and we have made an announcement and he has been sacked, and I wouldn't be surprised and I wouldn't be shocked at this point, because we have dropped out both competitions, which he was basically hanging his hat on a lot of these competitions, and we are losing game after game. And regardless of the injuries, it hasn't been good enough. And that is true. That is true. So if he gets sacked, then I'm not going to cry with spilled milk, because he wouldn't. I wouldn't say he wouldn't deserve it, put it that way. But I still think you might as well give him to the end of the season. That's kind of where I'm at with it right now.
Sim is a generous man, a very generous man.
Sack him now.
I've said all along, I've been a big fan of Ange, since he's came in. I don't think he was. I don't think he was probably the best choice manager, but it's the position that we were put in back then. Not many managers want to come and work for Daniel anymore. I don't know how far down the list Ange was. I think, it would probably be reasonable to say that it wasn't maybe one of the first 5 ones, but it was the position that we were put in. So what do you expect, really, when you're a fan? And I've said it all along. I've said it for many years. Like, it doesn't matter who comes in, the circus will continue. We'll be here in 12 months, 18 months time with another manager, same situation. You've got on any YouTube channel, Tottenham following, etc., etc. They seem to repeat themselves over and over again. Oh, this manager will change things, or, oh, we've seen this, it's time to get Levy out, blah blah. Oh, now things are going well for 6 months, everyone shuts up, and then hey ho, 12 months, 18 months, they're back around in the circle. So that's why I'm kind of like trying to loop myself out of the insanity situation and suggest that, well, I don't really think anything's going to change anything. So it's kind of a weird one, because I partially agree with the point in saying, well, there's no point sacking him now, because just see him out for the season, see what happens in Europe. If he goes in the end of the year, he goes at the end of the year. Could that be detrimental to the league? I don't know. We're in a really bad position in the league, to be honest, a very dangerous one. So it's a risky game to play. But then equally, the club and the football club in general has been played as a risk over these many years from a financial perspective, from the way that it's being run. So there's no, in my mind, I think we're where we should be, in all honesty. Yeah, okay, maybe a few positions higher in the league and everything like that. But I think that's where we are as a club at the moment, just in the way of everything that's going. So when you're looking at this Ange situation, I'm kind of sat there going, well, we've put us, not ourselves, because the fans haven't really had anything to do with this, but we put ourselves in this position. Like, it's our own fault. And now we're paying the price of it. We're paying the price of, lack of, I would say, lack of recruitment, really, still to this point, because even last summer, I don't think enough was coming. Loads went out, not enough came in. Same with this January. I don't think we did enough. I know there's excuses all under the sun about, oh, it's really difficult, this, that, and the other. Well, how come everyone else seems to be able to do it that needs to do it when they need to do it? So, we're in this challenging position now. Got a couple of players in, or 2 or 3 players in this January, but we're still stuck. We're still stuck with lack of quality. We're still stuck with the energy issue. We're still stuck with, everything bad that's going on at the moment. So to your point, Sim, of like, he's going tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised either. But I'd also see the reasoning as to why to keep him until the end of the season. But either way, I think it's just all such a big mess. Everyone's, fed up with talking about the same thing over and over again, the same situation every 18 months, 2 years. When does it stop? How does it stop? Because we're just going to keep going and going around this ridiculous circus that is Tottenham Hotspur. I'm tired of it. Like, it has sapped all my energy and that mental positivity that I had for the club is completely gone. I don't know what to do. The only answer I came up with, which I mentioned in a few chats the other day in WhatsApp and everything, was if everyone, I think it's 150 million, I'm just going to put this idea out there because it's the only thing I think of. It's about 150 million fans of Spurs around the world. If we all put something like £12 or £24 in each, we could take over the club. I'm being serious. Go on ChatGPT or something, do the calculation. If we want to get 4 billion, let's just as fans worldwide. I'm sure there's a few millionaires out there that could maybe help out with some extra money or something, and we can put you as like a board member, make some executive decisions or whatever, if you want to do that. That's the only way I can see out of it. I don't think a new investor is going to help or anything like that. I think it'd be the same issues with just a different way of doing it. So I don't know. I think just Tottenham's gone. I just don't know what to think anymore. I appreciate the difficulties of the injuries. I appreciate they're all tired today, but the adaptability is the problem. It wasn't there. That you have to change the system. If your players are tired, you have to adapt the formation. You have to adapt this. It was exactly the same pretty much formation as it was the other day. And it was the same scenarios. We just didn't concede 4. We conceded 2, but equally of still disappointing manner. So in my opinion, like, I think Ange goes tomorrow, stays. I don't know if I care anymore, to be honest. Like, I'm at that point. I don't know what everyone else out there thinks. But, like, the excuses are gone. There's no more excuses left. I can't see anything changing for next week or the week after. Yes, some players can come back. They could easily get injured again. Because the way that we try to play, or try to play, I still haven't seen it for a long time. We're stuck, Sim. I don't know. We are stuck. We're stuck in this vicious cycle of overplaying players. More players get injured. Players come back, 1 in, 1 out. That's pretty much, Danso comes in, Dragishin comes out, Tell comes in, Richarlison comes out. It's like we can't seem to just at any point get a squad together
that is capable of competing at this kind of level. I do think that's the
It's a mess top down sim.
That's
the
kind
problem.
I think that's at the moment why we're playing so badly. That is the crux of the issue, in my opinion. But that's what he's got to deal with, and he's not been able to kind of solve that issue. He's not been able to deal with that situation. Yes, other managers have been able to deal better with it, but they've been dealing with these crises longer than we have.
Of course,
we've been dealing it for 3 months.
Of course,
3 games a week. All these players, they're just dead on their feet, and we're playing against good teams who not only are they good, but they're also fresher. And I think the physical aspect is massive. I think it's absolutely massive.
The only thing I would say, Sam, is a lot of people go back to this. With the first 10 games of last season, we still go on about as if we won something. They were great. They were great games. Something switched, and then the reality of things came back in. And since then, literally since then, we're talking about probably 18 months now, I've seen zero progression. I've seen 1 or 2 players that have really stood up. Gray's been unbelievable. I think Spence has been our best player of the season. But outside of that, irrespective of whether players have been available or not, I haven't seen anything. I've seen no progression. I've seen nothing. That's why I think there's a massive agreement in my head with myself that Ange is not. I knew Ange wasn't the right person anyway, but it's confirmed now. But it's like, who comes in, and then is it going to actually really be different? It's the same proper players, the same situation above. I don't know. I'm sure there's some people in the calls at some point that will have maybe some answers, but we don't know.
I think nothing. I don't think anything changes if we sack him right now. I honestly don't.
It's the easiest decision to make, though, Sim,
but it's the only decision you can make.
If you want a finger point, he's going to be the one. As I said, you're not going to get rid of the chairman. He's staying there because he makes a lot of money. He's not going anywhere. Why would you do that? Like, however much he makes the club a lot, mate.
Look, it's a fair argument. Ange has had enough chances, and he's had enough chances to be within a job, and it's time for him to go. And we might as well give Mason that Europa League run because Ange has had enough chances within enough competitions. I get that.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that if you give Mason all these injuries, he's not going to make a difference. Now the fact is, we're getting all these players back. Maybe
we do. Yes.
They're starting to filter in. I don't know what's going on.
It's hindsight, though, isn't it?
I don't know what's going on with those players, but hopefully we're getting those players back. So are we better off giving those players to Ange, or are we giving them to a new manager? That's the question we've got to ask ourselves. If we're not getting any players back, are we better off going with the new manager? Maybe, because Ange can't handle the squad with these injuries. But I don't know what manager could handle this squad, the amount of injuries we have and the situation that these players are in, because they're going to have to play under another manager, and they don't seem to be up for it right now.
I know. This is what I'm saying. There's actually, I don't think there's any answer until the board has changed or something's changed dramatically in the vicinity of. If you dig deep, we know what the actual problems are. They stem from the same person, the same intricate detail of what the club's got at the moment within inside it. But it all stems down to then the quality of the manager, the players, the type of players, the quality of the players, the amount of players. It's a vicious circle. We will get another manager in tomorrow. We will get another manager in the summer. We will all be sitting here doing exactly the same thing in 12, 18 months' time. Take this video as a receipt, because I've said it in the last videos. I said it when Conte was here. I said it was Jose was here. Exactly the same thing will happen over and over again. There is no answer. Nothing. We're done.
Finito.
We're done.
All right, well, that's our instant match reaction to Spurs' 2-1 defeat to Aston